Alright guys, today we're here to do my NBA Jam cabinet mod. I wanted to give you guys a look into what I modded it with to give you guys an idea of what the ArcadeModUp kit comes with or what you can expect when you actually have the kit, how it actually looks on there and all that stuff. Now, there's a couple of reasons on what went through my head when I did this NBA Jam cabinet mod. One was, of course, if you do this mod or if you do any kind of modifications to the board of NBA Jam, of course you're going to lose the online play. And that's kind of what I struggled with back and forth, is that did I want to mod this cabinet because I didn't want to lose, because then I would lose the online play. But then I came to the conclusion that, you know, after thinking about it for some time, that I haven't used the online play since I got the NBA Jam cabinet months ago, more than like once or twice. And on top of that, my goal of this arcade room is to have different machines that do different things. This being my only 4-player machine, I'm not going to have room for another 4-player cabinet from Arcade1up, unfortunately. I have to pick and choose which cabinets I want. And 4-player games are just not going to be something I gravitate towards because they're bigger and they're going to need more space in there. So after thinking about that, I was like, all right, I should make this my 4-player cabinet. Since my main Rec Room Masters machine is a 2-player system, this is my only 4-player system I have. Let's go ahead and mod this thing out and throw all the 4-player games that you can play in here, which is going to grab my attention much more when people are over and we have parties than having online play will. So once I got over that hurdle, I decided to do it. But in the back of my mind, I was like, what if I ever want to revert back? All my other mods that I've done on this channel, if you guys want to check them out, like the Miss Pac-Man cocktail cabinet, the Marvel machine, and all that stuff that I've done so far, I could reverse the mod if I want to without really any implications. And that's what I struggled with. So I was like, all right, you know what? Let me do something different. For the sake of this channel, to give people a review on ArcadeModUp's kit, ArcadeModUp actually sells a kit that basically comes with everything you need to basically turn your cabinet into a 4-player. It has all the buttons that you need, all the holes are drilled for you and all that stuff. And basically they give you a whole entire new panel. So what that would allow me to do is I would take the NBA Jam cabinet panel that it came with off, put that to the side, store it, and then put this new mod right on it that ArcadeModUp sends me, put it right on top of it. It replaces the actual control unit and stuff, and that way I can revert back really easily if I want to. And this was the most simplest way to do it. So I wanted to give you guys a look into what it comes with, what their kit comes with, how well it's performed, how well it was easy to put together, if it came with everything you need, and some of my thoughts overall on their Pi images, because this is using a Pi 4, and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and dive into that video now. Let me show you guys a look into everything that this NBA Jam cabinet now has to offer.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, so here is my NBA Jam cabinet modded out. Before we turn off the lights, I wanted to give you guys a look at a few things that I wanted to talk about with this mod. So you can see here the control panel as it is lit up. I'm trying to get away with the light. There's not a lot of light in here, so it makes things a little bit harder to see. But you can see that they did a really good job with the actual artwork. I asked them to do the NBA Jam artwork over again, so it's pretty similar. Of course, with not the artwork for each button that NBA Jam on the original NBA Jam Arcade1up panel has, because that wouldn't make any sense now that we have 6 buttons on the first and second player. But they did a really good job. It looks really good. It looks like it came with the machine. I have no issues with the actual layout of everything. The button layout is much better to play a bunch of different games on this style, now that these are laid up with 4 buttons for player 3 and player 4, like it should be, since 99% of all games only use 4 buttons for the 3rd and 4th player, and then 6 buttons there in the middle, and the coin and star for each player above. So they did a really good job with the front panel, and then I chose the red on the front too, which looks really good. So I'm really happy with that. And then if we move this NBA Jam seat that I had before out of the way, the one of my complaints that I have with this thing, if you guys are seeing it now, is that the control deck comes all pre-wired, and all the wires and the Pi 4 that it comes with and the SD card, it's all in there. But what you do have to set up when you get the machine is these pieces right here. These are not on. They go with a cam lock system. You just place them in the slots that they're supposed to, and then push the slot in there, cam lock it in there with a screw, and you're done in like 10 minutes. But their videos do tell you that this is ready to go to plop on, which is not entirely true. You need to put these all on. But more importantly is that in their videos that they show and on their website as well, when you look at the pictures, this isn't clearly shown that there's actually a separator between each one, as you guys are seeing here. So it has a separator and a divider on each little piece there. So here on the side, there's a little divider. Here on the front, it's a little divided. And here on the side, it's also a little divided. So there's like a little hole there. Now, this is all secure. This isn't going to go anywhere. This feels good. It's not like it's, you know, not strong enough or anything, but I just didn't expect there to be a hole there. So when you're looking at the camera from far out, you can kind of see those little dividers there. So easy fix for me that I already have somebody working on is doing some NBA Jam graphics that will wrap around from, you know, the back all through the front. So this hole isn't, or this little divider areas on each side here are not really seen when the sticker is placed over it. But it is a little misleading that they don't put that in any of their videos. Even on their website, you have to literally zoom into the picture, and it's still barely noticeable that there's some sort of divider there that is not completely flush. So I think they could have designed that a little bit better. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with the way that the unit actually feels. The artwork on the top, the way the buttons are laid out, all of it came working. The Pi is built into here, so it's not something you have to connect to the back like most of the times that you do yourself. It's actually built into this control board. Everything's connected nice and tight in there. So they did a good job with that. So that was my only caveat with the construction was that wasn't really known. Now, what I want to show you guys right off the bat that's really, really cool is the intro video. So there's a lot of different intro videos that they actually show you on this thing. And they have it spinning, so every time you reboot, you get a different one. Like you can see here. Well, let me reboot it first to show you guys. So the intro themes all come out, and they're all different. Oops, that's the wrong button. They're all different than, you know, there's like 14 different videos that can happen when the system boots up. But I have it actually set specifically now, since I watched all of theirs, and actually set it to a sports theme, because I want this cabinet for me to be all 4-player games, obviously, the main reason that I did the mod. And then also all sports games. So this has all the hockey games, even if it's not 4 players and it's only 2. Anything that's 2 players. So this is the intro theme that I have specifically selected. So this is just a really cool compilation of all sports, like major moments in history and stuff. That's an awesome clip because I'm a 49ers fan. So it's just a really cool intro video to use in a cabinet like this, since I'm making it a sports and 4-player cabinet only. This just goes perfectly with the theme, and there is some gameplay that's going to be shown here right now from all different sports games and stuff from over the years. It's a fantastic. I don't know if this is like custom to what ArcadeModUp did, or if this is something that somebody else made that they just put on theirs that I've never seen before. But regardless, the intro splash screens are fantastic. This being one of them. And like I said, they come randomized. I turn the randomization off only so I can choose the sports one, because all the other ones are obviously not all sports themed, and I wanted this to mimic that. But something else that's randomized every single time is this screen here. So this screen here that organizes all the games is randomized all the time. So you can see, let me lower the music here so it's not bothering us. So you can see here, it does have music overlays and themes and stuff, as you guys heard just now that I turned off. But you can also make it so this theme, if you like a specific theme that's booting up, you can come into the options here, of course, and you can go into the UI settings, and you can see what it's selected to right now. So the theme right now is called Ready Player One Suite. So there's different ones that are coming up on there that you can see. You can change this to all different ones that are on here. You know, different ones depending on what you want. There's Dragon Lair ones, Double Dragon ones. So if I were to just set this to Double Dragon right now, you can just go back here and hit back. It will take a couple of seconds, and then it will change the theme and put it to that. As you guys can see here, now this is the Double Dragon theme, and now it looks like this. So all the different menus and all the different things will change every time it boots up, or you can go in every time it boots up and select the theme that you actually want if you found one that you like. But I have it set to go to different ones. There's like 20 in there, I think, and I just let it go and randomize. It makes it for a cool experience when it starts. But the splash screen I did set to that sports one because it just matches the cabinet really well. Digging into the cabinet itself, now one of the things that I found annoying that I didn't like on here is that they said that this was going to have a collections, right here is collections, of 4-player games that was all going to be in here, and it was going to be set up for you. So I went in here into collections, looked everywhere, and there was nothing in here. Actually, I don't even know what these collections are, because it says FIFA was created by them, and it says a collection is empty. The kickoff one has 2 games in it. That's fine. They made a kickoff collection, apparently. NBA Jam collection has 3 games in there. And then Sensible Soccer, which is also empty. So they made like these random collections that aren't even completely filled out. So I don't know where these came from and what they're doing with these. But scrolling through this menu here, there is nothing here for 4 players that they made specifically themselves. There's more that you can add to this, and I'll show you that in a second if you want to. I turned everything off except for the systems and things that match sports, like you see here, baseball games, basketball, boxing, beat 'em ups, of course, Capcom Classics, fishing, football, golf, hockey, things that match the style of this cabinet that I wanted. But you can come obviously in here and you can go into the game collection settings and you can basically select whatever custom collection you want. I have 27 of them selected, which is what shows up on the main screen. If you want to, but I have them set to just these for right now. But there is no 4-player collection. Now, is that a huge deal? No, but they're obviously advertising this to be out of the box for people who don't know what they're doing. For me, it wasn't a big deal. I did it the real simple way. I just went to all the games and added a favorites list. And these are all 4-player games that all are either 3 players or 4 players. So these are all the 4-player games that are on here, including, NFL Blitz that plays on PS1 and stuff that's on here. The Dreamcast version runs really well on here as well, the N64 version. The arcade version is probably the only game on here that doesn't run. That's a really popular game on the arcade with a Pi 4, but everything else runs really well, even Power Stone 2. All of this stuff runs really well. So that's how I chose to do it. But what was more annoying, and unfortunately I already have this system built so I can't really show you, is that as you guys know, if you guys are into MAME and you know about the settings when you hit the tab and you configure the dip switches and stuff, well, a lot of these 4-player games are usually set to 2 players. You have to go into the dip switches by going into tab in MAME and changing those options, or doing it, setting up those options and stuff. And you either have to plug in a keyboard, which is obviously easier, which is the way I did it. I just unplugged this panel, took out player 4 for a second, the USB, plugged in a USB keyboard for 2 hours while I did it. And I went through each game and tested each game and went to the dip switches if I needed to, switched it to 4 players when I needed to, and did everything I needed to do. Sometimes it wasn't even in the MAME settings in the dip switches, but you had to press F2 on the keyboard for some of the games, which means you couldn't do it with just panel alone. You do need an actual keyboard because you need to tap F2, go into those settings, and then switch it in there for some of the games. So it saves after you're done. So these are now all ready to go. But again, something that they're saying is ready out of the box, that should have been done. You expected, watching their video advertising this 4-player control board, that those things were done for you, but instead all of them are just set for 2 players. And if you got a 4-player unit like I did, then you need to go and configure all that yourself. And if you don't know what you're doing, you bought this as a drop-in kit, you're going to be like, hey, why can't I play this game 4 players? I know this game is 4 players, but it's not working. And that's why. So that is something else that you guys need to do. But overall, besides this front panel here that I was talking about that I need to put a sticker over because of these holes, and the fact that I needed to go into all the 4-player stuff and create a list on my own, and then set the options up. Now, you don't necessarily need to add a favorites list like I did, because what you could do instead, of course, like some people already know, is you can just go into your MAME collection here, Arcade Classics, and you can just hit the options to filter and sort the game list. And if you come in here, you can sort, actually, I think I went too far. You can filter the game list by the amount of players, and you can do it that way too. So you don't have to do the way I did and add it all to your favorites, so it's always there. But every time you filter this list and you do it, and when you do it in Arcade Classics, it's not going to save. And then if you want to find other games, then you're not going to be able to find it. So I thought it was just better to add them all to my favorites. That way it's all 4-player games on my favorites, left them on there. And then I can come in here and filter this list. Like what I do is filter this list to genres and make them all sports games. That way when people come over, I tell them, hey, you want to go play sports games? This is the cabinet for you. All the sports games are going to be on here. There's not going to be anything else but sports games or 4-player games on this machine showing. And if they want to play other games that are not sports games, we got my Marvel cabinet I modded, which is all fighters. You want to play cocktail games, we got that. You want to play anything else that requires more PCs, we got the Rec Room Masters machine that I have here, fully modded out, that has every game imaginable on there. So this one serves the most purpose of course, playing 4-player games, since my Rec Room Master machine is only a 2-player machine. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with the actual kit. It was really easy to put together. It came with, like I said, this was all pretty much all built except for these side panels, so I put that all in. It came with the LCD control board that you put on the back. It came with the speakers and stuff. The only other thing it didn't come with is to light up my marquee here. Since I already knew that NBA Jam had up a light up marquee, you can tell them not to send you their marquee, because I'm obviously not going to replace the original marquee with one of theirs for no reason, so I chose not to get it. And I had a feeling when I did that they probably weren't going to send me the cables for NBA Jam, knowing that even though I had a panel already that lit up, I knew they weren't going to send me the adapters I needed to get that to plug in, because you need like a power splitter and stuff. So I got that on my own for an extra like 10, 15 bucks on top of the kit and made that light up. So I think the kit is worth it if you're somebody who wants to get a 4-player setup like this, but has no drilling skills at all to make these holes, which is me. Because if the holes were drilled, I would have done this myself, and then I would have just wired everything up. It wasn't the wiring that concerned me. It was the actual fact that I don't know how to drill very well. And even if I did get to that point, my main concern for this was being able to revert back to get online playback if I ever wanted to revert this cabinet back to the original form. And now I can, because I'll just take this board off. This is not the stock board. Obviously it's their ArcadeModUp controller board, and I have that one stored aside, and I can just pop this off, pop the other one in, take the LCD controller board off, and put the old one back in, and then it runs like it did before. So if I did that, if I modded the original controller board and I drilled the holes in it, then going back would have made no sense at all. So this worked out for me really, really well, and it fits my needs because of that. If you don't want to do any drilling and you want everything wired up, this does fulfill the need. You are going to do a couple of settings and stuff that you're going to have to tweak for this 4-player stuff, like I just described within MAME, because apparently they're not doing that, which it should be, which is a little annoying. And you are going to get a sticker for the front, I'm assuming, because a lot of you guys are not going to probably like that divider here like me, that you can get stickers for to wrap around the whole entire thing. So that's what I'm waiting on to get next for someone who's designing one for me. So let me go ahead and now get you guys to the table, and let me give you guys my final thoughts on the ArcadeModUp Kit and my NBA Jam system now fully modded up. All right, guys, so that was the NBA Jam cabinet overview of the ArcadeModUp. Now, of course, I do have some thoughts on everything that we've seen here today. So let's start off with the positives of this ArcadeModUp kit that I bought. So this ArcadeModUp kit was $384, I believe, for everything that it came with. And, after putting that into it, it came with the Pi 4, which is nice because it goes right underneath the control panel, which you guys didn't get to see because it was already built. So it's already integrated underneath the bottom really easily, as opposed to usually when people get their Pi 4s, they put it on the back and stick it to the back, like I did with my Marvel that I showed you guys. This one was all underneath the control panel unit, so it was really nice and tidy in there. So that came with it. Of course, all the LED buttons, and I think they did a really fantastic job on the button holes. There wasn't any issues with the holes or anything not being misaligned. The buttons all look fantastic. All that stuff was great. They followed exactly what my instructions were on what colors I wanted for each player, so that was really good. The artwork on the top that is obviously on there, they can customize that to whatever you want. They can either mimic exactly what you had before, which me being the NBA Jam cabinet, I wanted to keep the look kind of the same, so I did the NBA Jam artwork on top and left it the same. Or you can do other artwork, or you can even customize your own artwork if you want and have them add it. If you want to. So, and the NBA Jam cabinet artwork that I chose, I did a really good job with it. I like the way it looked, and it was put on there really well. No issues with the actual artwork. That was really, really good as well. Of course, it came with the other pieces of the LCD controller board on the back that you need. That was really good. It came with the audio stuff that you need. The audio was really easy to hook up. It came with the little amplifier and one wire that goes from the speaker wire from your actual 2 speakers that it comes with. If you want to use the existing speakers that came with your unit, it's one wire that goes into there to then the 3 wires that are like red, it's like red, green, I forget the colors, but they basically go right into the amp, and then you're pretty much done. It's really, really simple of the way that they have it. You don't even have to splice any wires like you used to anymore. Really, really simple with the kit that they gave you as far as the sound goes. You could get speakers from them if you don't want to use the existing one and mount it to your J panel, so that's really easy. And speaking of the panel in front, you do need to replace the panel that you currently have in the front. I think it's the H or the J panel, the one that slots right in front of the control panel. They give you a smaller one because their board's a little bit bigger and sinks a little bit lower, so that gets replaced, and you just replace it with the board that they give you. It fits in with no issues that I had, and then you're good to go. It won't fit in there with the original one because this one is a little bit bigger. So this control board is actually nice because the buttons, as you saw, are actually laid out better for playing multiple games as opposed to just NBA Jam. So that was another cool reason why I went with this kit as opposed to using the existing deck, is that the buttons were laid out really well, in my opinion, and that turned out fantastic like I hoped it would. So that was also really good. One of the negatives that come with this thing is the instructions are still not that great. And in their video that they advertised for NBA Jam and their 4-player units that they advertise on their YouTube channel, it says, oh, you just take the panel that you have, that we give you, and you just drop it in and you're good to go. Now that was a little bit misleading because when it came in, the panel is all set up. Obviously all the controls are connected and the Pi's in there connected and all that stuff, but you do need to build out the bottom panel with the wood pieces to go around it. Obviously, it only takes like 10 minutes. The screws are pre-drilled and everything, so you kind of just slide it in there and turn the screw. Literally 5 to 10 minutes worth of work, but it's not just drop in. You have to literally put the pieces of wood in there and then screw it in with the cam lock system, and then you're good to go. And the instructions for that are, luckily, it's very easy to figure out, but they're not great. It's on a piece of paper, and they don't really show you exactly how any good pictures or anything on how it goes, but really, really easy to figure out regardless. So just know that going in. The other thing, the biggest disappointment that I had with this thing that was on their YouTube channel that a lot of people buy this thing for is, of course, the 4-player setup. And in their YouTube video, it says, oh, we have a 4-player list. So as soon as you click on their collections list, there's a 4-player right at the top, and then all the games that are 4-player are listed there. Not true. There was nothing in here for 4-player. I went digging through everywhere. There's no 4-player custom collection, so I don't know why it's not there, but it's not. And that was really disappointing. But an easy fix for somebody who's worked with the Pi before. If you're looking for, this is advertised as being a drop-in system, that's going to piss some people off. For me, really easy. I pulled up a list online that had all the main 4-player games. I went in and just did it the easy way, and it went in through all the arcade games and added it to my favorites list. And now my favorites list, as you guys saw, is just all my 4-player games. So no big deal there, and it worked really well. But the bigger issue, and this is kind of unacceptable in my opinion when it comes to being a drop-in kit in a 4-player unit that you're selling, is that a lot of those 4-player games, if you guys know MAME already, you know that you have to go into the dip switches and set it from 2-player to 4-player. Or sometimes go into the F2 option on your keyboard and change it from there, from the in-game test menu, to get these 4-player games to work. I'm talking about a lot of different games here. I went through all my list. I had like over 100 games, and I'd probably say 70% of them I had to go into the dip switches or to the F2 settings to switch it from 2-player to 4-player or do some kind of setting change. And if you guys are familiar with MAME, you know this already. But of course, that means that I had to take my control panel unit off, kind of leave it like on my chair, and basically, since the Pi only has 4 USB ports, and of course this being a 4-player system, it has 4 encoder boards already connected, I had to unplug the 4th one while I wasn't using it, plug in my keyboard, go through every single game, and see which ones didn't work with 4 players. And then once I got all that set up, obviously it's saved from there on out. But this is something that they should obviously be doing. I shouldn't have had to do this. It's being advertised as being a drop-and-play system, and it's not, because you have to go through all these 4-player games and set them up because they're all set to 2-player, like 70% of them, and you have to go in there and change the dip switches and save them and then do it. So something that they should definitely do for future orders. It's going to take them an hour or 2 tops, like it took me. I think it took me like 2 hours to go through all the games, and then nobody will have to deal with what I have to deal with. So know that going in, you're going to have to plug in a keyboard to this thing, unplug like player 4, and then plug in a keyboard, and then go through all the MAME options, hit tab, go through all of it, and change it from all the options that you guys are used to changing in MAME. So after I got done through that, there was one more negative that I had that is not shown in any of their videos. When they do their YouTube video, they do a really good way, easy way of disguising it. Even in their pictures on their website, when they show this mod kit, they do a good way of, you have to like literally zoom in, and then their pictures on their website, you can kind of see it, but it's really easily disguisable, and that's the front panel that I showed you guys. The front panel look obviously has those wooden dividers, and it's not flush like it could be if it was designed better. So there is a hole, as you guys saw in the overview video, where the pieces of wood are coming aligned. Not something I expected. Not the end of the world. What I'm going to do is I'm talking to someone already to do me custom artwork for that front black lip. So basically when I put the artwork around the whole thing, you really won't see those holes. And in my arcade room, when the lights are off and you're just using the disco lights and stuff that I have, no one's going to notice it, and no one's going to care about it in any way. And it's not really that big of an issue, but it's definitely an annoyance, and it's definitely not something that's advertised. When you look at their YouTube video, it makes it seem like everything is flush because you can't see it with the way that their angles and pictures are on their website. And it's not true. There are those little holes. But get some artwork and cover it up like it's like me, what I'm going to do if it bothers you. But it's not the end of the world regardless, especially if your lights are off in the arcade room and you're just using the disco lights and stuff. It's not that big of a deal. Now, as far as the negatives, that's basically the only 3 negatives that I had. It was the separation of the wood blocks of the construction of the actual board, as you guys saw that I just talked about. it was the having to go through all the 4-player games and add them myself, and do all those settings. And then the last thing is that NBA Jam already is a Gen 3 system, so I didn't need their replacement marquee that lit up. So I tried to ask them, like, you know, hey, when I place my order, since I'm not getting it, because you can choose an option not to get it, which I didn't because I knew mine already lit up, so I didn't need to get theirs to light mine up again. But I asked them, do you guys does it come, even though I'm not getting that kit with you, do you guys send the actual power adapters to get mine to work? They never answered, and of course, it didn't come with it, no surprise. It was only like an extra $10 that I needed to get the parts from Amazon to make my LED, to make my light up, which is just like a splitter and stuff like that. And then I got my LED lit up. So those are the only caveats that I have with this system. Now, along to the positives, they did a fantastic job with the LED buttons and following the instructions I had there. Fantastic job with the artwork. The actual unit does feel sturdy when it's in there, even though it's a cam lock system with those blocks of pieces of wood. Once everything is together, it does fit really well with each other, and it does feel sturdy. I don't feel like I'm going to break it by leaning on it or anything. The controls feel really good. The LED buttons feel really good. Everything worked out of the box. The only other small thing that I forgot to mention in the negatives, or not really that much of a negative, it depends, is the way that this thing is packaged. They hardly had any bubble wrap on this thing. So I'm glad that it got here in one piece and wasn't damaged in any way, because if someone would have threw the box, I would have gotten damaged, because there was no good protection on this thing. It had like one layer of bubble wrap on one side and nothing on the other. So they need to do a better job on packaging this thing, or if people are going to get this thing broken. Luckily for me, not a problem, thank God. So, like I said, really fantastic buttons. I love the artwork, love the LED buttons, how they did, the construction of the actual holes, all perfectly done. I love the alignment. The Pi 4 that it comes with the 120 gigabyte image, even though the 4-player image wasn't set up, as I showed you guys in the overview, all the games that you would want are on there. It's set up fantastic. I love the intro videos that they have. That it's always giving you new intro videos, even though I selected that sports one because they did a fantastic job with it. I love that every time you boot up the system, the theme of the actual menu changes. So the Pi image that they have on here is fantastic. They just need to cover themselves with the 4-player games that I was talking about before and set those options so customers don't have to do it themselves. But overall, this kit, even with the problems, as long as you know the problems that I just talked about going in and you're okay with them, it was well worth it to me, because I wanted a control unit that I could just take the other one off and put one in and not have to mess up the other one. And the buttons were all drilled for me. The LED buttons were all wired for me. The Pi was already set up and ready to go with their image. And I got all of that. And the audio was ready to go once I hooked up their system and stuff. Everything was pretty much spot on after that. So besides those negatives, I'm really happy with this kit, actually. And I would definitely buy it again, knowing what I'm getting into. But just know that it's not exactly a drop-in kit. You are going to have to do some work for the 4-player setup. And that separation of the blocks in front might bother some people, so you might have to get a sticker or something like I am to cover the whole thing up. But overall, guys, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm really happy with it, actually, now that I'm going to be done with it, with the way that this thing took my NBA Jam level to the next level. And now I have all these 4-player games that I can play, because this cabinet for me in the house is now going to be the 4-player games and the sports cabinet, like I showed you guys. So really, really happy overall, guys. If you guys have any questions about this kit that I may not have talked about, and you guys want to know more about this ArcadeModUp kit, leave those questions down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Until next time.